Good evening, guys. Welcome to the Saturday night edition of Revolutionary Change. It is Pontificating with Pete. Hope you guys are doing well. And it already appears that we have a nice crowd that has already settled in. Sorry for the delay. Thank you, Victoria. Yes, we didn't even have an opportunity to enjoy 60,000 subscribers. We are now at 70,000. Yes, we will not forget any of you if we become famous, but again, that's not the intention. The intention here is to try to bring attention to the issues that are of most importance to all of us right now. We're going to have a little special guest come on at the 8 o'clock hour because as we have grown, we have also been subject to greater deals of scrutiny. I am not going to explain exactly what that is at this moment, but you will all learn about it as the evening goes along. We certainly hope that you're all doing well, and we certainly appreciate you all very much. If you would be so kind as to smash that like button, make sure that you are subscribed, make sure that you share the stream so that more and more people can see it. Obviously, our goal here is to try to get to as wide-reaching an audience as possible, again, for the purpose not of transforming politics into service, but bringing about the revolutionary change that we know we so desperately need right now. And so with that said, speaking of speaking out against the powers that be, for those that have been paying attention, we all know that this is something that is becoming somewhat of a taboo subject. And what I mean by that is, if you want to have an opinion specifically pertaining to whether or not you support the state of Israel, that is something that is not only becoming difficult for each and every one of us, but it apparently is becoming a very difficult prospect for those that are in the armed forces. And so I don't know if you guys have familiarized yourself with this story about the 20-year Army sergeant, but I will just say this. If anybody is questioning whether or not you can actually have a constitutional right in this country when it comes to the issue of Israel, and my response to that is no, you cannot. And that's where the line cannot be crossed. It becomes the old adage of figure out who you can't criticize, and then you'll know who's actually in charge. And that to me is a huge part of it. So if you're familiar with the story about Jonathan Estridge, he's going to explain it to each and every one of us exactly what went down. Again, 20-year U.S. Army sergeant has been relieved, dishonorably discharged of his services, and he'll explain why.
20 years of service in the military. Yesterday, I got pulled into an officer's office and counseled for posts that I have on my social media. During the counseling, they told me I'm under investigation as a threat to national security. When I asked for proof, like what the posts were yesterday, they refused to give it to me. They made me come back today to further go over stuff. They gave me the proof, and the proof they gave me are anti-Israel posts.
Like I said at the top of the hour, we're going to have a very interesting conversation about what you can and you cannot say, because this is in essence what it has become for so many of us. We are not allowed to speak truth to power when the greatest evil that is using that power to basically drag our country straight to hell. Now you have members of our military that are trying to speak truth to power, and they are being removed. 20 years. Sergeant Estridge has served our nation faithfully, and now he can't serve it anymore. Why? Because he's not willing to go along with Israel's genocide. They are going to have short-term victories in their mind, but now you are crossing a Rubicon that you're never coming back from. Now, I don't know how many other members of the armed forces are going to stand with Sergeant Estridge. I hope as many as possible. But speaking out against genocide, war crimes, and a nation that is attached at the hip to ours as a result? I'm surprised it took this long. But here is the sergeant doing his job, exercising his constitutional rights, and his own military is telling him, yeah, that's not how we do business. We answer to a greater authority, the Israel authority.
Now, when I joined the military, I took an allegiance to support the United States of America. I did not ever take an allegiance to support Israel. But yet, I am deemed a threat to national security because I do not support Israel and their genocide against the Palestinian people.
So he said the words. And we have been warned, even on our channel and in some of the clips that we put out, to not actually use certain words, to sidestep certain words. Don't actually go where you're not supposed to go. My attitude is you have to go there. It is essential to go there. If you're not speaking the truth, then what the hell are you doing? Why the hell are you even here? It stands to reason that that would be why somebody like Sergeant Estridge, who's probably wanted to say this for a very long time, he finally did, and now he's suffering the consequences as a result. But he will be revered forever for doing the right thing. Somebody who was willing to be defiant and then ultimately give up his military career. Who knows if he's giving up his pension? There's really something to be said here for how volatile a move this is for this man in particular. But it's also something to be said for the warning shots that are being thrown against everybody. And why they're willing to do that, I don't know. When we live in a country that has no real social safety net, just a welfare state that keeps you there, we don't have health care. We do not have a robust jobs program that pays a living wage. We don't have a clean environment. And the value of our currency is going down by the head because we're ruled by ruthless oligarchs, Zionist oligarchs, to be specific.
Yes, you heard that right. I am deemed a threat to national security because I don't support Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people. Since when does not supporting a foreign nation get a U.S. soldier investigated for being a threat to national security?
You know, you wonder if a gentleman like this was inspired by our friends Anthony Aguilar and Josephine Guilabou. He said, well, listen, if they're going to step up for our nation, I have to do it too. And now you're finding out that that's not really how it works. They're going to throw everybody under the bus. Now, in the short run, like I said, they'll win because they hold the power. But the levers of power can only be held for so long. You're now going after service members who have served this country honorably for multiple decades. How do you not reject all of this? That's the insanity of it all. Tried to connect with Sergeant Estridge. I have not been able to get a hold of him. We'd love to have him on the channel. His courage, literally and figuratively under fire, cannot be overstated. He has done the right thing, even if this puts him in a significant predicament regarding his livelihood, his future. He is taking a great risk here. I hope he doesn't have to stand alone, because a lot of people have been very silent about this. This clip on Middle East Eye went viral for sure. But in terms of people that need to be speaking up about this, they're not doing it. Where are all those proud red-blooded Americans that love our military, that love our service members, that should be out there specifically about this issue saying, well, if he's going to speak out, we have to stand beside him. How can you not? And this is just another example of how we will look back on what transpired, and everyone is going to be asking themselves, did I do enough? Did I do enough to serve my country? And you can serve your country in a lot of different ways. That's why we had the Peace Corps. You didn't just have to serve in the armed services. We're trying to do our part on this channel to serve humanity as best we can by bringing attention to stories like this that desperately need coverage. This is going to go one of two ways. Either more service members are going to step up, or a lot of service members that were contemplating stepping up are now going to stand down, and they're not going to say anything. They're going to be dead silent about it, which is even more scary. But that's what they're hoping for. Like I said, we'll discuss it in even greater length at the top of the hour. But I bring this up, and I bring up Sergeant Estridge, why his story is so significant. Because if we don't reject this, what we're heading towards is a cataclysmic situation regarding what's going to happen in Gaza, what's already happening in the state of Israel. And so, not yet friend of the show, but partner friend of the show, Peter Saddington, who does a podcast with Matt Kim. If you guys have checked out their work, they are more on the libertarian side for sure on a lot of topics. However, this particular topic pertaining to Israel and the United States was one that could not be ignored. This is a big deal here. So what Matt Kim is outlining, which everyone should pay close attention to. What is the plan for Gaza? This Mediterranean Riviera, if you will, that the Donald has talked about at length. Well, this is the plan that they have in place. And what the genocide, again, is only one layer to it, but this is the post-genocide plan. Aside from extracting the $500 billion worth of natural gas under Gaza soil, don't forget about that one. This is the plan that they have in mind, as long as the United States does not rebel against its government and allows this to go forward. Here's what's in store for the future.
Gaza already has a business plan, not for peace, not for rebuilding lives, but for luxury resorts, AI tech hubs, and billion-dollar highways. I don't usually touch the Israel-Palestine debate in short form. It's too complex for 90 seconds. I save it for the podcast. But yesterday, I posted one simple fact. Most of the world supports the Palestinian people, while Israel spends hundreds of millions on propaganda to cover that up. And like clockwork, outpoured the uninformed hot takes. So let's throw one more truth into the mix. Last week, Netanyahu was in town with Trump. They unveiled a 20-point plan to end the war, built by Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, and billionaire Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy to the Middle East and his partner in a crypto company, by the way. The plan? Keep the IDF in Gaza while a board of peace, led by Trump and overseen by none other than Tony Blair, the globalist who gave us the Iraq war, while he manages the transition.
Now, what I always find amazing about these stories, and I'm sure a lot of you find amazing about it as well, is that some of the most depraved people that you'll ever find in politics somehow always manage to resurface at some point down the road that they did something so extraordinary in a bad way, and yet were never punished for it, and managed to secure another job, a very powerful job. You know, like Jared Kushner's father. You have Anthony Weiner, who's running for office again in New York. You have former disgraced Governor Jim McGreevey running for high office in New Jersey, actually to be, I believe, mayor of Jersey City. All of these things make one scratch their head, which is, does crime pay? Yes. For many people, it does. And in this case, it's paid dividends for Tony Blair. Go along with George W. Bush in response to what went down after 9/11. Regime change wars, eh? Well, now he gets to oversee the regime change, if you will, in Gaza. At least that's the plan.
No ceasefire, no two-state solution. It's not a peace plan. It's a takeover plan. Because what they didn't show you was the actual blueprint for New Gaza, also drafted by Kushner and Witkoff, and backed by Saudi Arabia and the UAE under a shiny new name, the Great Trust. Gaza reconstruction, economic acceleration, and transformation. It's all in the slides. Gaza, Trump, Riviera and Islands, waterfront luxury condos, and
just look at the absurdity of it all. Look at that. That's supposed to be the beachfront in Gaza. And listen, it was absolutely beautiful for decades. It was beautiful before 1947, 1948, I should say. It was beautiful before October 7th, 2023. Now it's nothing. And this is what they want to build. What does this look like to you guys? One of the things that makes the Mediterranean part of Europe and West Asia so endearing and attractive is that it's beautiful because it's unique. It's exquisite architecture. It's historic. It's been there for thousands of years in many cases. That's what keeps it, gives it its culture and its charm. This is just another version of future Western expansion. That's all it is. It was always about dollar signs. And this is trillions of dollars worth of redevelopment. And it does look disgusting, but it doesn't matter because the people that are going to benefit from it love it. I don't understand how the entire world is rejecting everything that is affiliated with Israel, aside from FIFA. Get to that in a minute. And yet, this is what the future looks like in Gaza. It looks like this. That's what they're going to do. They're going to grab the oil, or the natural gas, I should say, and then they're going to build this over how many years, who knows? How they're going to get away with it, even that I don't understand. It's really wishful thinking at this point, if you think about it. But it's beyond insane. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with rich Western oligarchs trying to change the culture of a land that's been around for millennia. That's caucasity, as Jen likes to say.
hotels, the Elon Musk Smart Manufacturing Zone, MBS and MBZ Central Highway, named after Saudi and Emirati rulers, and the American Data Safe Haven. Who wants to bet Larry Ellison gets this plot? And a nice little section for unexploded bomb clearance. Number one. Manufacturing Zone, MBS and MBZ Central Highway, named after Saudi and Emirati rulers, and the American Data Safe Haven. Who wants to bet Larry Ellison gets this plot? And a nice little section for unexploded bomb clearance. Number one. This whole protect against the Muslim shtick, it's getting old.
Yes, it's getting very old. It's getting very stupid, and no one is buying it anymore. However, this is one of the examples that I want people to truly understand when it comes to, again, I believe in the free market, but the free market must be balanced. You can't have capitalism without socialism. And what we have right now is runaway capitalism on its last legs that is allowing for oligarchic concentration of wealth and power, the likes of which has probably never been seen before. You know, usually it's a handful of people, and now what you have is this whole conglomerate of people that are just chomping at the bit and thinking that people are just going to assume that they're going to be nothing but serfs. Now, in some cases, people don't really have a choice. And in this case, what we have here is a Riviera in theory, but not necessarily in execution. So we must continue to speak up and speak out in the rejection of what this is all about. We'll finish it up.
Saudi Arabia and the UAE are deep in this deal. Number two, how is Jared Kushner, who already took $3.2 billion from Middle Eastern sovereign funds, how is he in charge of both the official Israeli peace deal and the business deal to profit from it? And finally, why is it always normal for billionaires to kick people out of their homes so they can gentrify the land and call it stability? Their own documents say they want to turn Gaza into a $320 billion asset within 10 years.
That's always been the play. I thought it would be worth probably more than that. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe 320 billion is the realistic number in terms of what the redevelopment project's going to look like. However, in terms of its actual worth and what, I mean, again, at this point, in terms of economics, in terms of where we are, who the hell knows what it's going to be worth? Who the hell is going to want to be there? They've completely isolated themselves from the rest of the fucking globe. And yet, for some reason, they have these grandiose plans about what they think they're going to do and the money and the wealth that they think they're going to attract as a result. I think they're out of their minds. But then again, Zionists in general are fucking nuts. So this goes with the territory, I would think.
This is not charity. It's not peace. It's the same boys club running the same money play with human lives as collateral, apparently for your safety. Seriously? Does this look like a peace deal, or does it look like billionaires carving up a war zone for profit?
That is what it is. That is a war zone for profit. That's all it's ever been. It's another Dubai. That's what they want to build. Will they? Depends. Are we so pathetic of a nation that we can't get our act together when this is in our face? That's the problem. We can no longer sit on the sideline and think that things are going to get better and thinking that humanity is somehow going to come to their senses, that they are somehow going to go along with it, and that we are going to be okay if we just allow the natural course to take its place. That's not going to happen. That's our future. That's what it looks like. And if you think we're giving money to Israel now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Where do you think the money's going to come from to develop all that shit? The $300+ billion project. Who do you think's paying for it? We're paying for it. It's going to be us. We'll do it. I'm telling you, it's like we're standing on the precipice of a great awakening, and yet at the same time, we refuse to see the writing on the wall, or the people in power, I should say, refuse to see the writing on the wall, not recognizing just how fed up the average person really is now, and how much they don't want any part of this. But they keep on pushing the envelope. That's what they keep doing. This is another example of the envelope push. I was not even aware of the full detail of what this actual redevelopment project is going to look like. So hats off to Matt Kim. And as we mentioned, we've had his partner, Peter Saddington, on the podcast. We certainly would like to have Matt join us as well for an informative conversation. And that certainly was informative. But yes, this is what the anticipated future of the redevelopment of Gaza in the eyes of the Zionist class is going to look like. Are we just going to sit idly by and accept it? I hope not. But the more they push, the more the resolve of the average person grows in strength. And that's what's going to happen. And so for those who are probably not up to snuff, but maybe now, and are aware of this developing story regarding what's happening with FIFA. Now, if you are aware, and I'm assuming that some of you are, FIFA, which is the governing board of the World Cup of International Soccer, they are in a very unique situation right now because the globe is demanding that they do not accept Israel as part of a World Cup proceedings next year. And it just so happens that the World Cup is going to take place in North America, with the World Cup final taking place at MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands. So with the backing of the United States, in particular, the President of the United States. And guys, we have 314 people already on the stream, but only 164 of you have hit the like button. If you could smash that like button so we could get this story out to more people. Like I said at the top of the hour, we have a very important story to share with all of you. We're going to have a special guest hop on to discuss it. Make sure that you do so. Now, as we said, the goal here, and this is coming from Al Jazeera, which has ultimately turned into one of the most trustworthy news sources that we can find that's going to talk about this particular issue. And so the goal here, ban Israeli football. Scholars urge UEFA to ban Israel over Gaza horrors. In a letter, legal experts have underscored the killing of Palestinian footballers and a UN panel's finding that Israel's committing genocide. Now, the problem that we are facing right now is simply this. FIFA has decided that they can't solve geopolitical problems, so they are not going to ban Israel from the World Cup next year. Now, do I think that there was some bribery afoot? FIFA is just known as a bribed organization to begin with, so that should come as no surprise to anybody. But FIFA has decided that Israel is not going to be banned, that they are allowed to do whatever they want. And as they said, they don't get involved in geopolitics. Well, guess what? It turns out that they do get involved in geopolitics because they banned Russia from participating in the previous World Cup in 2022 amid the war with Ukraine. So the hypocrisy knows no bounds, but we all know that the Rubicon is crossed specifically when we're talking about Israel-Palestine. This is the third rail. And so they are allowing them to stay in, even though the world has rejected Israel. The only reason that that would not be the case would be because of the United States' influence, because they are the host nation along with Canada and Mexico. It's a North American territory host committee for the 2026 World Cup. But we all know that the United States pulls the strings. So more than 30 legal experts have called on the Union of European Football Associations to bar Israel and its clubs from competitions over the atrocities in Gaza. It urged the football governing body and its members to fulfill their legal and moral obligations to uphold international law and move forward with an immediate, complete ban of Israeli football. The letter highlighted the damage that Israel is inflicting on the sport in Gaza. At least 421 Palestinian footballers have been killed since Israel began its military offensive in October of 2023. And the letter explained that Israel's bombing campaign is systematically destroying Gaza's football infrastructure. So it isn't even a question of whether or not they can prove what's going on is a horrific situation right now. Of course it is. But this is on a whole other level. They're not just doing this because they're committing the genocide. They are deliberately targeting Palestinian footballers, and it's not a few, it's hundreds have been mass murdered. And FIFA still says, well, we can't do anything about it, so we got to let them play. It is on us. I saw what you said. I'm going to have to agree. I think we need it right now. The failure of the Israel Football Association to challenge these violations implicates it in this system of oppression, rendering its participation in UEFA competitions untenable. It comes amid growing international outrage at Israel's brutal assault on Gaza, where the Israel military has killed more than 66,000 people, about 10% of the actual number. You know, that is a rageometer within itself. the frustrating nature of the fact that they can't give a straight answer about how many people have actually been mass murdered. It's pretty obvious that it's a pretty sizable number. And it's a hell of a lot bigger than 66,000. The Lancet has it at least 700,000 now. So how the undercount is so absurd, even with the intention of this particular publication that actually cares, that actually is trying to do right. And even they're not being honest. They're withholding the real number. It's one thing if you're off by 20,000, to even say that number is crazy. But to be off this deliberately, then this is Al Jazeera. This is one of the good publications. But to be that off, I don't understand that at all. It makes no sense. A blockade on humanitarian aid in the territory has also sparked deadly hunger, leading to a declaration of famine in August for more than 500,000 people in Gaza. How long do you think you survive a famine? I'm telling you, every one of these clowns, they're all a part of that Epstein list. As Craig Mackheber, former director of the New York office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said, allowing a country that commits genocide to participate in sports allows for its normalization. That in turn is an act of complicity. We remember well the situation in apartheid South Africa, where the world unified to isolate the regime in order to change its behavior. And that included, very importantly, sports boycotts and cultural boycotts. The international football governing body, FIFA, suspended South Africa in 1961 due to the country's apartheid regime. And they didn't come out of the apartheid until the early 90s. So this is over a generation that FIFA was ahead of this. So they knew. The move was seen as an historic triumph for the global movement to end the violence and segregation. More recently, in 2022, both FIFA and UEFA suspended Russia within days of it launching a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It's a stunning level of hypocrisy and double standards that they reacted so quickly and so forcefully with regard to Russia because of its invasion of Ukraine, and yet have been dragging their feet in trying to avoid action when it comes to a full-blown genocide by a regime that has been certified a practicing apartheid. Palestinian rights advocates have been calling to ban Israel from world football competitions for decades, in part because Israel has professional teams based in illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank. Let's not forget about that. As the attacks on Gaza continue, Israel's national team is participating in the European World Cup qualifiers, and its clubs are competing in UEFA's continental tournaments, with Maccabi Tel Aviv FC featured in this season's Europa League. But calls for ostracizing Israel from world football has been gaining momentum in recent months. Football fans from Glasgow to Paris to Rome to Bilbao have been flying Palestinian flags to show solidarity with Gaza, despite restrictions against such displays. Defiance will not be tolerated, apparently. One such call came from UEFA itself. Federation published the late footballer's photo on a social media platform with the caption, "Farewell to Suleiman al-Abidine, the Palestinian Pele, a talent who gave hope to countless children, even in the darkest of times." The UAE also included 2 Palestinian refugees, children, in the medal ceremony. According to multiple news reports from Europe, UEFA was going to vote to suspend Israel soon, but the move was postponed after U.S. President Donald Trump released a ceasefire plan for Gaza. Again, not an accepted plan, and a shit plan at that, but one that was tepidly accepted by Hamas with conditions, and again, all under the guise that they are going to stop the bombing. We all know they're not. But it's the thought that counts. On Wednesday, Amnesty International also called on FIFA and UEFA to suspend Israel. As Israel's national football team gears up for World Cup qualifiers against Norway and Italy, Israel continues to perpetrate a genocide against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Since the outbreak of the war on Gaza, no country or club in Europe has withdrawn outright in protest from a game against Israeli teams, despite the growing international pleas to shun the country. Now, what you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, regarding international football, a lot of these countries depend heavily on the resources that FIFA provides, especially for third world countries, or ones that are struggling economically. So they are stuck between a rock and a hard place. But there's plenty of countries out there that are very well sustained on their own that could easily boycott a match or two to really make the impact known. But they're not even doing that. And that in itself is a huge part of the problem. Game Over Israel has been leading a media campaign underscoring the genocide in Gaza and calling for a football boycott of the country. Last month, the group sponsored a billboard in New York City's bustling Times Square that said, Israel's committing genocide, soccer federations boycott Israel. Now, as you can see here, you have a picture of the Donald with the head of FIFA, Gianni. I am going to botch his name. I don't want to mess it up, but I have to make sure that I say it right because, again, this is important. Gianni Infantino. So Gianni Infantino is the guy who is deciding that it's acceptable to support the genocide. FIFA cannot solve geopolitical problems. Israel's top ally, the U.S., is co-hosting the World Cup next year, and President Trump has been chummy with FIFA chief Gianni Infantino. In light of the leaders' warm relationship, Prashir said he is not optimistic that the International Federation will make a move against Israel, but he added that individual countries can force FIFA's hand if they announce boycotts of Israel. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are these guys waiting for? They have an opportunity. You have every reason to take a step back. You hold the power, especially with the World Cup. You really do hold it. They can't afford to lose on this. They have to maintain. It's essential. One team steps away, a lot of teams will step away. And then what are they going to do? Do they not understand the PR nightmare they're heading towards with allowing Israel to participate, especially in the States, where the anti-Jewish fervor is reaching a fever pitch? These people are fucking crazy, but then again, they're sitting on the mountaintop and they're looking down at the peasants and they think, oh, well, they can't reach us anyway, so who cares? It's not our problem. But it will be. FIFA cannot solve geopolitical problems, Infantino says, but it can and must promote football around the world by harnessing its unifying educational, cultural, and humanitarian values. I tell you, do they rehearse this in front of the mirror before they say it, knowing how absolutely loony and out of sight this type of rhetoric is? It's as if they're pretending that what is going on in Gaza is not really happening. But Kiber, the former UN expert, said football should bring people together around positive values, not around a country committing genocide. Now, why would Infantino be close with Trump? Because, again, FIFA's business, the name of the game, is bribery. That is how they get away with what they get away with. And as Al Jazeera is now stating in conclusion from Prashir, Gianni Infantino is normalizing genocide. Would he have let Nazi Germany play while they were committing the genocide? That is the question I would ask him. That is a great question. But as we know, money talks, justice walks. That is the way it's been for pretty much forever. But I do think that people are getting restless. And do I think that FIFA will suffer as a result? Well, the more people know about what's going on, the more likely that they will. That's our goal. Our goal is to inform the public as early and as often as we can. The World Cup is not until next June. It's for about 6 weeks. But it is imperative that people understand that right now, as of this moment, Israel will participate in the World Cup here in the United States. Are we going to let them do that? Or are we going to stand up and fight back? I know I will. Hope you'll join us. If you guys are enjoying this content so far, and we hope that you are, please make sure that you go over to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you could become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. As you know, we recently passed the $70,000 subscriber mark. Unbelievable. But it is thanks to individuals and collective support from guys like yourselves that have made a huge difference in our ability to get our channel to the next level. And so for that, we are extremely grateful, and we do appreciate each and every one of you being here. Laug66, thank you for the 10 pounds. All sports governing bodies in the West are extremely corrupt. Fat guys on fat salaries, fat expense accounts, business class travel, 5-star hotels, and happy endings. Had to throw that one in there. Very important. Exactly like Western politicians. Hey, I agree. I would say that there is a lot of similarities to how politicians conduct business, as well as how executives in major sports venues like FIFA end up doing it. It's probably that way. We know what the Zionist billionaire owner of the New England Patriots is up to. He likes his happy endings and his 5-star treatments, and I know he loves Israel, so he's probably on board with this too. Shame as it may be, but we got to keep speaking up. Jim Talib, thank you so much for the $3 super sticker. Appreciate you being here. And of course, I know she likes to show up every once in a while, but we love you, my friend. Double K with the $49.99. Hope you're doing well up in the upper Midwest, Wisconsin to be exact. Your support is obviously tremendously appreciated, and it is great to see you showing up here this evening. In a couple of minutes, as I mentioned, we are going to have a special guest, because speaking truth to power comes with a lot of danger, especially now. Trying to silence people in every which way, we have to be wary, but we also have to be vigilant. That's what we're facing. I cannot say enough about how we are going to be tested like we've never been tested before. It's going to get so much worse as we go forward. But keep in mind, it's going to get worse because we're winning, not because we're losing. I've told this story before. I'll tell it again briefly, but I want to be very clear about something. Right before Charlie Kirk passed away, or should I say assassinated, let's be very clear about that. Right before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, he made a clip, a compilation clip of a handful of different content creators that I think he was deeming as worthy of competition, so to speak. I was thrown in, or I should say that the people that were thrown in there were the likes of the Young Turks, Sam Cedar with the Majority Report, and me. I'm getting thrown in there, a channel at the time that was maybe at 50,000 subscribers, with channels that have millions. So clearly, whatever it is that we're doing is having some type of an impact. But that impact has now been taken to a whole other level in terms of a threat. And so my trusty colleague is here to talk about a very important story that you guys are probably going to find disturbing, but probably not all that surprising. Jen, good to see you as always.
Hello. It's weird to be on here and not do the intro. I'm not used to being a guest. Yeah. So do you want me to start the story?
Well, this is definitely story time.
It's story time. Okay. So last night, I want to say maybe 8-ish or whatever, there's a knock at the door, and
Well, hold
And-
on. Well, hold on. Before you go there, I think we should remind people of exactly what we did over the last 24 plus hours in terms of our content and how we have surged up the ladder considerably.
Well, no, I think we should. Well, what I thought was, well, see, now you're messing up the story.
All right, you
Tell
do,
the story. So there's a knock at the door. Jason gets the door. He shuts the door. He says, the police are here for you, he tells me. And he's less than pleased, as he is not anywhere near on my revolutionary path, let's say. So I open the door, and there's plantation police officers, 2 of them standing there. And they say to me, we need to talk to you, or we would like to talk to you about a post you made today. And I smiled and I said, no, thank you. And I shut the door. So now I'm upstairs and I'm watching, and there's two cop cars. So I'm assuming 4 officers, and they're outside in my cul-de-sac, just standing around, not really knowing what to do with themselves, I guess. I don't know. And at this point, I'm making phone calls. I'm making sure that my husband knows he might have to bail me out. I'm making sure that he knows which lawyer to call. Like, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what's going on. Now, I thought, now I'll get to the back. See, this is how you tell a story. Okay. So the day before yesterday, on Yom Kippur, was it the day? Yeah, the day before yesterday, I burned an Israeli flag, and I did it as my atonement, as Yom Kippur is the Jewish Day of Atonement, for supporting a Zio hellscape. Okay. So I thought that the police were at my door. I assumed it was for the flag burning thing. And I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm ready. Like, I have my First Amendment lawyer. I've got a criminal lawyer. Like, I got it going on. Right. And they go away. They leave. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess they're going to go get a warrant. I don't know. Like, I had no idea. And then now, and I tell you, but then now you have to finish the story, because now the story. Okay. So if we were doing this video, it would be like, it would go from Broward, it would go from Plantation, and then it would go back one time zone into where Peter is in Niceville.
So for those that are bitching at me in the chat, you can all be quiet now, because there's a bigger layer to this story that even you're not aware of.
Yeah.
So here it comes. So I got a visit from the police at 11:30 p.m. And it wasn't a kind doorbell ring. It was a hard knock at the door.
Right.
At 11:30 at night. 2 police officers. And we're not talking about Niceville police officers. We're talking Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office.
Well, do you have Niceville police, or are they all sheriff? It
No.
might. You have city police?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But okay, wait. Before we reveal what it was, I want to discuss what we thought it was.
Sure.
Who we thought it was. Okay.
Do you want to say it, or do you want me to say it?
You need to finish telling the story. But then before we reveal who actually was the source of it, I want to say what you and I had been going back and forth with, thinking who it might be.
So the 2 officers answer the door. I did not step outside, but
Never step outside. Never, ever step outside. Okay.
But I was standing, again, I'm in a t-shirt and boxer shorts. Like, I think their intention was that I may have been asleep and that they would wake me up, give me a little startle.
Yeah.
It was always the plan. They were young, both Irish. We had a pretty cordial conversation.
Peter spoke with them, which fortunately it worked out okay, but don't do that. Okay. Don't do that. If this is you, don't do that. Don't speak with them. You have nothing to say to them. Okay. Continue.
Okay. Well, Jen and I disagree about this. So I'm not going to argue with you on
Yes, because I did criminal defense and I'm an attorney. And yes, we have different thoughts about this. You do not speak to them. Continue.
So I decided to speak with them. And because I decided to speak with them, I was actually able to uncover exactly why this happened. So the first thing that they said to me was, do you know why we're here? And I said, I have absolutely no idea. Said, You made a post on social media. And I thought,
did you think it was the flag burning too?
That's what I thought it was.
Okay.
So I said it was, well, because they came to you.
Yeah.
We know that burning the. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, that it is legal to burn the American flag? It is illegal to burn the Israel flag in the United States.
Except it isn't really. That's sort of like an urban legend. And here's, but anyway, we could get into the laws about that. That's a separate thing. I've now done like my due diligence on it. But yeah, so Peter had no idea.
So as the conversation persisted, they asked me, X, Y, and Z. Do you have a hit list? Was the exact thing that they asked me. I said, you're going to need to be more specific than that. And they get into this whole, well, you said a hit list on a live stream that you did the other day. And I said, you mean like a
wait, so
like
right.
So immediately I asked them, so you're referring to a video of some kind. And I said, did you watch the video?
No.
And they said no.
So guys, here's the hit list. Here's the graphic for the hit list. Okay. Pretty graphic, pretty clear what that is. And so, but meanwhile, we had thought when it happened to me first, there was a few hours before they came to you and we had talked.
Yeah.
And we've named names to each other, like who I think would have called the police. Like there's definitely a certain amount of local politicos down here.
Wasserman Schultz clearly was the first one that we thought.
Yeah, because we went in hard on her the other night. And usually when I do that, there'll be some repercussion. So it would have made sense for it to be her. And then there's also a local commissioner whose wife is Israeli and he's a Zio. And he blocked Peter on Instagram. So we thought, okay, it had to be one of those people. But no, it wasn't. It wasn't even about the flag burning. It was about the hit list.
If you guys have been paying attention to why our channel has surged again over the last several days, we did have a viral clip that has now eclipsed over 200,000 views on YouTube. And that is the clip about the Zio psychopath rabbi in New York City that says that history has shown that it's ironic. They're accusing me of a hit list, and you have a rabbi talking about people are going to need to die for the state of Israel.
So we called out this synagogue, this rabbi was on the hit list, meaning that it was aggravating enough to require one to take a hit. That's the hit list. Mm-hmm. So never in any way was it mentioned any violent. All that we said is if you live in New York and you want to protest for free Palestine, this is maybe one of the places you should go. That's it. That was the call to action. But apparently, the synagogue called the police.
The rabbi saw the video or some, and you know how it is in the Zionist community. One of them sees it. They all share it. They all have their little. You heard about, after Charlie Kirk's assassination, you heard about the Zionist WhatsApp groups and X chats where all of them with Bill Ackman, they all collude together. So somebody saw it. Someone saw it, started sharing it, got back to the rabbi. She saw it.
We don't know it was her. We know it's from the synagogue, right?
They say that the synagogue called who the fuck do you think would have done it?
It could have been whoever the chair of the whatever of their board.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's what I mean. You know
Absolutely.
What I'm saying? It isn't necessarily the rabbi, although she was the one with all the psycho speak.
So she called the police. They somehow tracked down where I lived, which is not easy to do. And they found out where she lived, and they sent
easy to do.
Yeah, they sent the police directly to their door. Now, with Jen, it was much more respectable because, again, she lives in a sleepy suburb and I live in an apartment. And so they came to me with the intent, and I said it to both of them. I said, this is a form of intimidation. And they didn't hesitate. They were like, yeah, we know.
Because they're just following it. Look, they got an assignment on their desk, right? They're like, here, deputy dog, this is where you got to go. Somebody made terroristic threats. And that's probably how they phrased it. And they are, all right, we'll go talk to them. And it isn't like those guys give a shit. In fact, they'd probably really rather not be involved. I know the two guys who showed up at my door. I'm not going to say I felt bad because really get another job, get a life. But when I just smiled and said, no, thank you. And I was shutting the door, they looked at each other like they had no idea what to do. It was interesting. I mean, yeah, but so do not speak to the police unless they have a warrant. Do not speak to the police. Do not step outside. They are not your friends. Okay. Yeah. They're not your friends. They're not there to help you. They're there to incarcerate you.
That is a public place. I can say wherever the hell it is. And
it's a public synagogue. Why is that risky? This is what they're putting out there. This is on there. This is content that's out there.
Every single act of violence,
reporting it.
Every single act of violence, including the violence that supposedly happened on total happenstance on Yom Kippur in London.
Can you say false flag? Can you say distraction? Because that's what that is. I have a lot of questions.
Yeah. And you better believe that we're being monitored. Absolutely.
Well, I've been being monitored by the Israeli consulate out of Miami for like 7 years now.
Yeah.
So I get it.
So they ultimately understand. And the last thing, what was even funnier was
so you explained to them what the hit list was.
Yes, of course. But here's the thing. The police were under no obligation to reveal to us who actually called the police. And he was like, you know what? Fuck it. Here's who called the police on you. I was like, oh, really? You mean to tell me that the video that we put out that only in honest context showed a synagogue on Rosh Hashanah displaying the Israel flag, no less, decided that they didn't like the critical video that we made of them? And
really?
They decided to pull an intimidation factor, which is what the Zio scum fuckers tend to do anyway, because that's all they've got. It's not like they would actually get on a plane and come down here and try to confront me in person. No,
it's like they tell on you. They're like tattletale. They'll tell on you. Yeah.
So that's what they decided to do. And now I'm here to tell them, look at me when I tell you this. Go fuck yourself. I'm Seriously. Coming at you 10 times harder than I did already. You're going to honestly, and I mean this sincerely. I am not suicidal. Neither is Jen.
No.
To stop me, you're going to have to kill me. That's
and can we please be very clear that what we're speaking of is completely nonviolent forms of protest? Can we be very clear about that?
And we made that very clear in the video.
Hence, when you see the little flash and it's a bong.
But again, that's not the point. The point is that their intention.
See, Rachel, I told you this would get us in trouble.
Yeah, the intention was
roaring now, but yeah.
You know, everybody gets on my ass if I ever interrupt you, and you just will not let me finish.
But I'm high. What's your excuse?
I'm upset.
Okay, go on.
And I'm not upset at the cops. I'm like, whatever, they're doing their job. It's not.
Yeah.
Again, this is like the thing with everybody who's getting on ice. Yeah, they suck to high heaven. But do you really think they're doing that on their own volition? They are being told to do it. That's why it's happening. And the same is true when again, just a county sheriff officer is given a call at just before midnight. And of course, they checked my record, which they said they did, and they know I'm clean. So the fact that they felt the need to do this in the middle of the night, instead of coming to me in the morning and having a regular conversation, like I said, he pounded on that fucking door like I was.
Here's where it's also more fucked up that it happened to you, right? Not only do people know where I am, but there's people in this district that are Debbie people, that are her minions, people on our commission, people that particularly would like to fuck with me. Right? Like that's just, that makes sense. Right? So it makes sense. That's why I thought, okay, it must have been what's his face calling up his little police department over there in Plantation saying, you need to go talk to her. She hurt my feelings. Yeah. But it turns out, no, it was the synagogue in New York claiming to be victims of some sort of threat, which is so ridiculous and is so them. It's so the Zio thing is to just play the victim. Nobody's threatening you with anything other than calling you out for the genocidal freaks that you are.
And that is what they are. And this is another example of, I'm going to say it again, and I'm looking in the camera when I say this, and I mean this. To David Hunter in the chat, to anybody else who's in New York, to my good personal friend Jordan Chariton of Status Quo News, if you see this, if you're going to protest for free Palestine, get to the Central Synagogue in Midtown Manhattan. That's where you protest.
Yeah.
You hold that flag and you show them that you are not going to allow an organization like this that is now exercising their real power, which is to silence us from ever crossing them again. Not only am I going to cross you, but I am going to be in your crosshairs until Israel is no longer in the crosshairs of our country. That's the way it's going down now. You want to intimidate me? You want to threaten me? Okay. Game on. Get ready. Because I love a good challenge.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying when I was talking about burning the flag. It's like if you're gonna tell me not to do something, don't be ridiculous.
And I'll tell you why. And now that you're here, we obviously have to do a segment together. So this came from Jen, and I'm going to play it for you now.
Oh.
For those that are not paying attention.
So I don't know what this is then, because I send you a ton of shit.
That's true, but you'll know as soon as you see it. So notice how there is radio silence from all of media. And I mean like pretty much all of media. No one is talking about the fact, whether it's Ben Gvir or anyone else, everyone on those flotillas, they are now hostages and they're going to hurt them. Greta Thunberg, it has been reported multiple places that she is being tortured as we speak. They even have apparently somebody witnessed one of those cocksucker IDF soldiers going up to her with an Israeli flag and telling her to kiss it.
They made her kiss. They made her crawl on her knees, and they forced her to kiss the Israeli flag. I'm so glad I set it on fire now, even more so. Just
Absolutely.
makes me happier.
So shout out to Amanda Seales, who is unabashedly free Palestine. I mean, listen, she's a commie socialist. Like she's all the way.
Can you not refer to my people derogatorily?
That's not derogatory. Oh, wait, you think?
I just think it sounds like you sound like Archie Bunker. Commie socialist. What is that? What is that?
Amanda Seales is as left can get.
Good.
So to her
My
credit,
people. Yeah.
To her credit, she is fighting on the front lines of this issue. And she takes no prisoners whatsoever when it comes to Israel-Palestine. But this is a credit to her because I would not have known about any of this other than a passing comment about Greta Thunberg and not realizing that they're all in deep fucking trouble right now. And here's what's going on.
So all members of the Global Summit Flotilla have been abducted, not arrested, by Israel. That's 500 people representing 44 different nations. 44 different nations now have citizens that are in this situation.
השר, איפה אנחנו נמצאים? אנחנו נמצאים בכלא קציעות, וכמו שהבטחתי, אותם אנשי משט, תומכי טרור, נמצאים כאן בכלא ביטחוני, אירוע משחקים. הם מקבלים כאן תנאים של מחבלים לכל דבר.
This is when I wish I had the De Niro clip from The Untouchables to play over and over and over again. Although maybe that and on the same episode talking about a hit list might be a little bit of too much. But this man, this disgusting, overcompensating, small piece of shit, he really needs to get what he has coming to him. Oh, that man.
If you want to know the one Zion-Nazi definitively who's more evil than Milikowski, you're looking at him. This man, I believe that the Samson option could likely be deployed under Bibi. It would absolutely be deployed if this guy had control. He is gleefully admitting that they are torturing the members of the flotillas that have been captured.
Sep, I don't even like that show, but no need to be mean about the Family Guy, okay? No need to, be hurtful to the Family Guy. Sorry. That's insulting to the Family Guy. I don't like that show, but that's almost like, it's insulting to the Family Guy. This guy is...
He's bad.
תנאים של מחבלים, זאת אומרת, יש מינימום של המינימום, ככה הבטחתי וככה אנחנו מקיימים.
These are all members of a humanitarian mission to bring baby formula and toys and food to people that Israel claims they are not starving. Then 30 AIPAC Democrats call on Trump to oppose Palestinian sovereignty, meaning to oppose the right of Palestinians to exist as a people and a country. Among those are Richie Torres and Black Wesley Bell, who was paid to go up against Cori Bush and took AIPAC money to get her out of her seat that she rightfully earned as an organizer in St. Louis.
Now,
That's facts.
to be fair, Amanda obviously has a predominantly Black agenda in her political discourse. But make no mistake, if you saw the people that were in the background of the image, and it's out there, it's public information about the 30 Democrats who pleaded with Trump and Rubio not to recognize Palestine, period. Well, the person who we suspected called the police on Jen is one of those congressional representatives that has been on the forefront of discussing how much she loves Israel and hates Palestine and loves standing with Bibi. Any photo
Don't
on
call him that.
Milikowski.
Yeah.
What's his first name?
I don't know. Who cares?
Okay, well, anyway,
Nazi is his first name. I don't know.
Nazi Milikowski
Nazi Milikowski.
is one of those. Then you have Dan Goldman, heir to the Levi Strauss fortune. Ted Lieu is there. Lois Frankel, South Florida. Darren Soto.
The usuals. The usual.
Jared Malkovich.
Well, of
Jared
course.
Malkovich is there too. They all suck. But this is why we say, if you want to support electoral politics, support independents and do not support the Democratic Party. Because all roads lead to this. Mm-hmm. You can say, as some of these organizations are like, this is the future of the Democratic Party. Yeah, my ass it is. They're never going to get out of their own way. And as I said, the more that America Firsters push the Zios out of the party, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go to the already liberal Zionist-dominated party that is welcoming these people with open arms. That's what's going to happen. Am I wrong?
No, there was a reason I sent you this clip because it's good.
Meanwhile, the remaining plans for Israel are to take the people that they have displaced in Gaza, put them in a camp where they will be given numbers instead of names. Does this sound familiar to anybody? And all of them will have their phones confiscated so that they cannot communicate. This is being reported by Haaretz, which is the Israeli newspaper. I mean, are you okay with this? Are you okay with humanitarians being held hostage by a government that you are also held hostage by? You do understand that the Democrats who are supporting this, they're allowing U.S. citizens like Greg Stoker to be imprisoned.
I want to just say one thing, and I love Greg Stoker, and he's a friend and definitely a major comrade, but of all the people that were taken, he's the one that I know can handle it. He's the one that it's like he was prepared for that and he can handle it. Not that it justifies it in any way, shape, or form. What freaks me out are the artists, the teachers, the people that aren't in any way mentally really prepared. I mean, and I know they trained. I know they did. And I know that they were prepared for this. They were. I know that. But yeah, it's like Greg would take it 10 times over if he thought that would get somewhere. So it's, yeah. That's my thoughts on Greg. He's a hero.
He is, definitely.
And you, if you're not calling them into action, are also allowing this. So when you see me saying, where the fuck is Kamala Harris? It's because I want to know why we don't know if she's doing anything about this.
She's selling a book.
She's working tirelessly.
She is working tirelessly for a ceasefire.
And yes, she will always be held responsible to hold up the safety of U.S. citizens, just like Bill Clinton did when he went over there to get Lisa Ling's sister out of North Korea.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Where are all of these Democrats who have taken AIPAC money and allowed for this to happen?
Enjoying taking the AIPAC money and living the good life.
Yeah, that's exactly where they are.
If they're not out here shouting at the top of their lungs about it stopping, I have a goddamn problem. And we should be calling them to the mat. Hakeem Jeffries, Richie Torres, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, all of these AIPAC fiends should be called to the mat. Yeah, where are they? Cory Booker, you got all the mouth for 25 hours. Where are y'all? Oh, are you behind the scenes? This behind the scenes madness? I ain't here for it. Jasmine Crockett.
For those of you who, again, are new to our channel and are getting acquainted with our work, we have had some pretty interesting guests over the past 4 years. And one of those guests on multiple occasions was Jasmine Crockett before she seized the nut. That is the top flight of the Democratic Party establishment.
Yeah.
She was probably always that person. But when she needed a helping hand to climb that ladder, she reached out to us. And I've got Jasmine's number in my phone.
She's probably blocked you by now.
I don't harass her, but
but yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, she's just gone now.
Very much so.
People got all the mouth, and they only talk to racists because that's the safest. Nah, y'all need to be shouting about these Zios. I said it before, and I'll say it again. These people are deeply bothered by a shift in public opinion about them, and they watch social media. So we need to be on here and out there making noise and calling them by name and saying we hold you responsible to make sure they get home safe.
I saw somebody in the chat talking about like how, you know, it's probably even worse for Greg, and it probably is. I'm sure the veterans boat is definitely taking it worse. You know, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. It's enraging, really. But what I will say is since this happened, boats keep heading in the direction of Gaza from Turkey and Greece and all places. Like people are now, like the flotilla is growing by the day. And so, and I don't know if people saw, but they were also able to catch fish. Yes. Which is, yeah. But so the people that are being held were prepared for this. They knew that this was a possibility, and they were all willing to do this. And even someone like Chris Smalls, who went through that on the last flotilla that was hijacked and kidnapped, he didn't regret it.
No. But I think this is a very good transition to a story that's been making the rounds over the past, well, exactly 24 hours. Now, we all know that Van Jones is an opportunist of the highest order. He pretty much always has been. But I bring this up because he made his appearance on Bill Maher last night. And what's interesting is that, as we've mentioned before, one of the best journalists we have out there today is Max Blumenthal. We obviously would love to have him on. Max, come on, baby.
Max, why are you ghosting me?
Come on, Max, come on. You know, we know we're small potatoes compared to some of the channels that have been going on lately, but we're rising. We're growing.
But I have so much respect for him, like him and Aaron. Like, I love their work. I don't know. Max, why are you ghosting me? Okay.
Max says, I saw Van Jones sporting a keffiyeh at a memorial for Juliano Mir Kamas in New York City in 2011. 14 years later, he's raking in millions from Israel, and it's U.S. cutouts and joking about dead Palestinian babies with Bill Maher. Here's what he did last night. on Bill Maher.
Isn't part of that because we had to fold everything into critical race theory, and somehow the Middle East became part of,
I see it differently. And I love this conversation because I think people, those of us who went to college.
He just looks like a fucking pimp right now.
It's the pit. It's the pit. That's what it is.
It's all of it. It's all of it. It's how he's talking. Yeah.
I think he's.
This is gonna see this. This makes the hit list. See, that makes the hit list.
You see, this brother saw the money that Brandon Tatum is racking in, and he just couldn't have it. He's like, "Oh wait, he's getting paid $7,000 a post. I gotta get me my money, baby. I gotta get my nut." And that's exactly how they're looking at it. But the audacity, not caucasity, but the audacity to wear that pin. That pin is just like wearing those dog tags.
It is. It's signaling to your donors, and everybody knows that. We see you. That's a signal to the money people that control you. Fucking go dance like Bojangles somewhere, man. I just fucking can't.
He is. Well, his hands are out, and here's what he has to say.
Give a lot more credit to college courses for how the world works than I do. This is not about critical race theory on college campuses. This is about Iran. Iran and Qatar have come up with a disinformation campaign that they are running through TikTok and Instagram.
How are they doing that? Please, I need to know how they're doing that.
Well, I just think it's fun. I thought that, and again, I'm not on TikTok, but wasn't it that they were upset because it was owned by China? So it's amazing how TikTok is just owned by whoever your enemy is, so that you can blame facts that are getting circulated and actual information that it's not by blaming your enemy. So it was China. Now it's Iran and Qatar. All right. Sure. That's what they're all doing. They're all sitting around wanting to fucking run TikTok.
Well, that's the excuse now. The excuse is it's Qatar and Iran, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Not that the Israel lobby, hook, line, and sinker, owns our collective government. Not that. Don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to what we're feeding you, what we're selling you. That's what it's about. And I hate to say it, but Nick Fuentes ultimately made a really good point about this. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why Jen and I actually do agree about economics from the standpoint of, if you do not have a check, a true check on the free market, you are fucked. You now have billionaires, and not again, to even fathom the concept of owning $1 billion to your name in whatever form of wealth that is. Imagine having $100 billion to your name. How about $400 billion?
The truth is, let me tell you how ridiculous that is. Okay. So I lived in Chicago for a while, and the first winter I was there was this Arctic cold front came down, and it was like -60 something. That's 60 something with the wind chill. And this was, in Chicago. And, people like, how cold is that? I'm like, quite honestly, once you're below zero, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It's too cold to be comfortable. So it's the same thing with $1 billion. Way actually less than that. Seriously. Like, it's the number that it would be where people would just not need to stress about money is so much lower than that. And yet the greedy fucks, it's just never enough.
And in this case, buying this clown off, because again, he's just somebody who has always had his hands out to be ready to be bribed. And he's being bribed proudly, but it does get worse.
I'm going to be sick.
That is massive. If you are a young person, you open up your phone and all you see is dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, right. Diddy, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby. Like, that's basically
I'm livid. They're like dead Gaza baby. Have you lost your fucking mind? Oh my God.
Not even a dead Palestinian. Talk about getting his talking points. Talk about the talking points coming through right before he
Fuck
gets on the
Van
air.
Jones, man.
Now remember,
you are shit.
Yeah. Oh, you a house Negro if there ever was one. I mean, this is
What
so
a piece of
pathetic.
shit. And they're all laughing
Don't
at
say
that.
Palestinian. Now,
Although
listen,
they're laughing at that, but then again, they're there to see Bill Maher. So obviously they don't really have like, any real taste anyway.
well, it's not even that. How about the fact? Do you know the portly son of a bitch that he's sitting next to right now? That's Thomas Friedman.
I don't know.
Mr. Zio himself, who never met a fucking war that he would not endorse through the New York media. I only bring this up because there are people.
Wait, this?
Yeah.
Fucking insane.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, that fat fuck right there. That's him.
Ugh.
That's why he's got to wear all black.
Trans Joy, they're Zios. He happens to be Jewish, but Van Jones isn't Jewish, and he's sitting there shilling. Mm-hmm. So it's not Jewish mob rule, it's Zio mob rule. It's the truth.
Yep.
So that's not DEI. That is a geopolitical adversary that is deliberately trying to divide the West against itself.
That view is not.
No, what's dividing the West is a Holocaust. That's what's dividing the West. I mean, actually, no, before that, it's been vast income inequality, wherein people are starting to realize that it just hasn't worked out so well for them, and that's on the red team. But the it's not coming from them. Yeah, Iran and Qatar are the source of all the uprisings. That's the problem. That's what the issue is.
Where do you think?
How fucking dumb is that?
Where do you think that the money comes from to pay any of these top flight content creators $7,000? It wasn't just, $8,000 per month. Then it became $7,000 per post. Now, again, I would imagine that the posts have to have certain conditions, certain reach that they have to obtain, whatever the circumstances are. The fact of the matter is, this is how it's done. Van Jones is not going on Bill Maher without getting compensated. He's being handsomely compensated. Now,
and to wear the yellow ribbon and toe the line. He's there following orders. He's dancing for somebody or some few people. He's dancing.
Remember the way Herman Cain danced for the GOP? Well, it's sort of the same thing. You're not even appealing to the black community. I don't even know if that's what your intention is. My guess is with somebody like Van Jones, who has tried to be white adjacent almost his entire career, I highly doubt that is his intention.
No, I don't think I do not think that Van Jones has a real black following, if you will. I'm going to go with he's got suburban wine moms more so that think that they're woke because they like Van Jones kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's the I've got a black friend crowd.
Right. That's who he appeals to. He does not appeal. Yeah. Because
and that is exactly why there is no use whatsoever for any of this bullshit. We have to cut through it and just be direct about it. When we said that we were making an impact, we obviously are, because now we've got law enforcement coming down on us because the Zion-Nazis in New York City clearly don't like what we're doing, and clearly there's an impact being had here. Great. Now
I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat saying black people do not like Van Jones, and some have said people I do think are black. So that's, I didn't think so. Like, I wouldn't. He's a neo-lib from mainstream media. He's been a paid tool for corporate America forever. Like, yeah.
But the idea that you're going to go on with the shit-lib Zio scum himself, who is so fucking over the hill at this point, and he's on there with Thomas Friedman on top of everything else, and you're going to go on there and you're going to mock dead Palestinian babies? Are you that much of a sick fucking bastard? Yeah. For that amount of money, Uncle Tom, are they really paying you that well that you can sell your soul like that?
Horrible.
I don't understand. Like, honestly, it's they say that 4% of the population can easily be classified as sociopathic. I mean,
well, people that get into those positions. You know what? Let's invite Amanda Seales to come on.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to invite her on.
I've been following her forever.
I don't know if I have her contact information.
Well, I mean, I follow her on Instagram, so that's all I have is whatever that is.
I had a clip of Miss.
If anybody has any connection to Amanda Seales, I'd really love to have her on the show.
Yeah, we're trying to grow here, guys.
Does Sabby know? I kind of remember? Does she know her?
She might. We definitely have one.
I remember her being on somebody's show.
You know what? I don't want to play the clip because it's too disheartening, but I just want to say that Miss Rachel and what she has done to bring light to all of these innocent victims, these children. She did a video the other day of couldn't have been more than 6-7 years old, a young girl in Gaza.
Oh.
Who at the start of this was weighing 55 pounds. Now she weighs 19.
She's just, and this is a girl that had a pre-existing condition, which is why she's in such bad shape. And I didn't realize you were talking about that. Did I send that to you?
Yeah, Amanda was on Savvy Sab, so we can message Amanda.
Okay.
And inquire.
I thought so. Thank you, Kat.
Alex, you really are new to our channel, aren't you?
But guess what?
Had him on twice, and he's coming on again.
He's coming on next week.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that before I have to jump off. Jason wants this studio at 9 for, Saturday night auction stream.
All right. I'll save the Fuentes clip for myself. I will keep you for one more important discussion.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Nick Fuentes.
No. But if there is a person, again, as we have said, the left is useless. It's unfortunate. That is kind of the overarching, at least anybody with a real platform that can make an impact.
Wait. Why aren't you going to play the Miss Rachel clip? Like, why did you bring up Miss Rachel?
It's just, I don't want to look at that shot. Like it's actually.
No, that's the point though. Right. That's why Miss Rachel posted it. Right.
Yes.
So if Miss Rachel posted it, then she wants people to see it. And if Miss Rachel wants people to see it, we're going to see it.
All right. Give me a second.
I'm just saying.
Remember, Jen's the boss around here, guys.
No, Miss Rachel's the boss.
She's definitely done as much with her platform as anybody that actually is trying to make a difference.
That's their, you know what? In terms of their Hasbara that they've put out over the past 2 years, that's their biggest regret. That's their biggest regret is fucking with Miss Rachel in terms of the media situation. Yeah. They probably regret that more than,
Well, I don't know how long
having to permanently remove Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Guys, let's get to 500 live viewers. Let's share this out there. Really appreciate you all helping out. And so this, if
imagine that. Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. That'd be great.
We have a whole slew of guests that we've had that I think would also be good in that position. But anyhow.
Well, imagine if we actually cared about children, innocent children.
I feel like Matt Ho would be really good in that position.
Yep.
Hello, Miss Rachel.
Miriam, it is so nice to see your smile. That is so great that you got some clothes. So many people love you and care about you and want you to be healthy and back at school and have the nourishing food you need and the medical care you need. So many people in the world care so much about you and about the kids of Gaza. I know you must feel so frustrated and alone, but we see you and we want to help and we're not gonna stop trying. I'm gonna work every day to try and get you the help you need, okay? What is your dream, Miriam? What would you love to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? Maybe people in Gaza and people here, we can all share our dreams in the comments of this post. Maybe we can all share and amplify this post so you get what you need, because it's wrong that you don't have what you need, Miriam. It's so wrong, and we need to all work to change it. I loved your half heart. I love you. Bye.
I seriously want to fucking kill somebody. Like that's
why you can't handle watching this stuff, but we have to. That's the point. The whole point is all we can do is bear witness and do that. It's like if we have to sit here and watch that, but that little girl has to go through that, right? Like it's the least we could fucking do.
I'm sick of people who have no humanity. I'm sick of people that are.
And that's who Van Jones is talking about. That little girl.
Yeah, that little girl, Van Jones. That's who you're talking about. You fuck. You fuck.
So demented. These people are so demented. I feel like it's pod people. They're pod people. I just can't.
No, they have no soul. They really don't. And
and if Miss Rachel can friggin' put her big girl panties on and have these conversations looking at these kids, then we need to all sort of abide. Yeah.
If there is a person with the right platform in terms of size, reach, and scope that is doing what is necessary to try to sever this unholy alliance with this genocidal state that the Zionist billionaire class of our country have attached us to, hook, line, and sinker, and is doing everything in his capacity to get us to sever that relationship. It's Tucker Carlson.
So right now, as we speak tonight, there are 2 THAAD missile batteries in Israel. That's 1/4 of the world's total supply of THAAD missile batteries. The THAAD missile battery is an American-made, very high-tech missile battery that takes incoming missiles out of the sky.
Now, I'm going to pull this because that's actually not the clip. I don't know why it said new, but
I'm trying my best to see the relevance between what that was and what we're talking about.
Okay, so I believe this is the first one.
Israel's our greatest ally. We should never ask anything of them. Of course, you heard Nikki Haley. You hear all of them say exactly the same thing. Protecting Israel is the most important thing. They're our only real ally. If they're our only real ally, why does Israel have a long history of transferring military technology, including American military technology, to China? To China? Most people have no idea that's true. It is true. Why is China running the port of Haifa, Israel's biggest port? Really, if they're such a close ally? And of course, the answer is because from Israel's perspective, we're not a close ally. We're a country that has been willing to help them. But when you only have 9 million people and a limited defense budget, you take help where you can get it. So the loyalty is not requited. It's one way.
And so now you'll understand why this unholy alliance is extremely detrimental in terms of weaponry and what we provide to Israel and what Israel, with the Samson option, might be looking to do to the world.
And 1/4 of the world's entire supply of these is in Israel right now, manned by U.S. troops, by Americans.
Let's start it one more time.
So right now, as we speak tonight, there are 2 THAAD missile batteries in Israel. That's 1/4 of the world's total supply of THAAD missile batteries. The THAAD missile battery is an American-made, very high-tech missile battery that takes incoming missiles out of the sky. And 1/4 of the world's entire supply of these is in Israel right now, manned by U.S. troops, by Americans.
Of course.
So we have troops there.
Well, we always have had troops there. We've never not had troops there. When have we not had troops near there? We have troops at places all over the world. You don't think there's troops there? Exactly. This is what I want to know. This is what Peter and I have talked about this, and I've said it before. I was just saying it today that I don't know. Is it deep state? Is it Vatican? I don't know, but it's very valid.
Extremely valid.
In uniform or not, they are American military personnel, and they are manning these batteries to protect Israel. And that shouldn't surprise you, because since October 7th, 2023, which is a little less than 2 years ago, the United States has spent at minimum $30 billion defending Israel. Huge. And for some perspective, the entire Israeli military budget before October 7th was about $25 billion. So the United States has put at least $30 billion into defending Israel in less than 2 years. Over the course of its existence, a little less than 80 years, the United States has put $300 billion, at least, those are just the on-books numbers, into supporting Israel. $300 billion.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to give a genocidal state. And he is reaching millions of conservatives in particular, nationwide, that are hearing this. And I do think that, again, he was removed from Fox News because he dared touch the subject of Israel. He's only been gone from Fox News for a couple of years. It's not like he's been gone a long time. But he got his walking papers because he dared to question empire. Not because he insulted somebody that he shouldn't have.
Which then, of course, begs the question of if he was it's very interesting about him.
Well, I maintain that he does not like Milikowski, that there is something to that relationship where he probably really dislikes him. This is a
personal. You think it's personal?
I do.
Yeah.
I also think that Tucker is a very devout Catholic, and this is something that this really eats at him. Because again, he's a very proper guy. Yeah, he's an elitist, but you can just tell he's just so he's square. I
mean, I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan, but I can say that, and I saw this when he was interviewing the nun, the sister Stephanopoulos. Okay,
yes.
And she's a nun who lives in not Bethlehem, but somewhere else in the region, and I could see how it was affecting him when she was explaining how Christians are not able to practice their faith, right? Like I could see that really bothered him. And so he's definitely been learning stuff more and more. And then maybe it is personal as far as, Milikowski. But you can see he's been having an awakening. He has.
Yes, and my apologies. Tucker Carlson, if you really want to understand why he thinks the way that he does, my apologies. He's not actually a Catholic. He's actually the most liberal denomination of the Protestant church, and that is Episcopalian. So that actually explains a lot in terms of why he has this humanity streak that is really showing in a very profound way right now. So my apologies. I thought he was Catholic.
Exactly. He's Catholic light. Okay. Episcopalian is not Protestant. Episcopalian is Catholic light.
Okay.
And I knew that, and I don't know why I didn't call it out, but thank you for reminding me that it is in fact it's Anglican, not Protestant.
Anglican, right.
Israel is by far, no one comes close, the largest recipient of U.S. aid over time. And currently. So anyone who says, it's just a drop in the bucket, it's totally insignificant, is lying or doesn't know the numbers. By the way, number 2 is Egypt. So why are we spending so much money on Egypt? Well, we're doing it at the request of Israel. So you could probably add that to the tally. It's not an attack. It's merely perspective. We are spending our time, our money, and we're taking enormous risks on behalf of a country that geopolitically is not significant at all. The interesting thing is, most Americans have no idea that this is true. They don't know how disproportionate our attention to Israel and our spending on Israel is relative to the rest of the world. And if you want some sense of how disproportionate, India and China combined, neither of which is a strong ally at the moment, combined represent more than a third of the entire world's population. Both are rivals economically, both are rivals militarily, at least potentially. And our relationship with them has gotten worse, or is at the very least languished, because of our relationship with Israel, because of the bandwidth consumed by tending to it, and also because of some of the inevitable conflicts that have arisen because of our support for Israel, which is engaged in an extremely controversial, which is to say hated war in Gaza, which is not even really a war. It's a massive displacement of people and killing on a grand scale of unarmed people, of unarmed combatants, of civilians, of women and children.
Or you could just say genocide. But either way, he's doing as much as anybody could possibly be doing with his platform. And again, this all relates to what he did the other night. This is all part of that same clip. It was a 30-minute dissertation, if you will, about what we need to do to get away from Israel. I have one last clip to play from this exchange that he put together.
Okay.
And the last thing that I think we need to do to restore balance between the relationship between the United States and Israel, and to restore some sanity to the public conversation on this topic, is to get our theology right. And this is not a message aimed at Israelis or Jews. This is a message aimed at Christians, who are the largest group of Israel supporters in the United States.
Did you hear
and their
that?
view of Israel is colored not just by sentimental attachment, which is fine, or trips to Israel states. Israelis or Jews. This is a message aimed at Christians, who are the largest group of Israel supporters in the United States.
Yeah. Did you hear that? Shut the fuck up.
Evangelical Christians are the biggest Zionist denomination in the United States. It is not Jews, despite what the media would have you believe.
Right.
It doesn't mean that the Jewish Zions are not the most powerful. They certainly are. But as we've said from the beginning, it is an unholy alliance.
Also true.
What you have here is the Jewish Zionists that supply the money, and the Christian Zionists, or the pastors of Christian Zionism, John Hagee, Pat Robertson, Joel Osteen, and the like, provide the flock. That's what happened. That's how it works.
And their view of Israel is colored not just by sentimental attachment, which is fine, or trips to Israel, great, no problem, but by a Christian heresy, the oldest of the Christian heresies, which is that God somehow prefers some people based on their DNA. And of course, the whole point of Christianity is that that is no longer true, that there is no chosen people. The chosen people are people who choose Jesus. That is the Christian message right there. It's not an anti-Semitic message, by the way.
Nope.
It's the Christian message. It's the core Christian message. And yet there are many, many self-described representatives of the Christian faith, the world's largest, who are daily sending a different message. And we should be very clear. Whatever this is, it's not Christianity, it is heresy. And among the many examples we could pick, we're going to go, because we couldn't control ourselves, with Lindsey Graham. Watch.
To people in my party, I'm tired of this crap. Israel is our friend. They're the most reliable friend we have in the Mideast. They're a democracy, surrounded by people who would cut their throats if they could. This is not a hard choice if you're an American. It's not a hard choice if you're a Christian. A word of warning. If America pulls the plug on Israel, God will pull the plug on us.
I don't even know what to say.
Oh, yeah.
How many people has he sent to their death, Jen?
Yeah, he's just ridiculous to me. He's one bathroom stall away and some lady undergarments away from a scandal. Like, this man is he is grasping on to his manhood with every last breath. Like, he is one of the most overcompensating, desperate little men that there is in the Senate. Truthfully.
There's a reason why people like him vote against the release of the Epstein files. I'm just saying.
Mm.
God will kill you if you don't support Bibi Netanyahu. That's what he's saying. And there are cheers, unfortunately, cheers when he said that God will kill you. He will pull the plug on you like a quadriplegic in intensive care. You're going to flatline unless you support the secular abortion-on-demand government of Israel. That's the Christian perspective, really. That God loves some people more because of their DNA, that is not the Christian message. That's the opposite of the Christian message. The Christian message is universal. That's the whole point of it. The chosen people in Christianity are those who choose Jesus. The entire New Testament is that story. And anyone who says otherwise has not read it or is lying. God does not prefer you because of your DNA or anyone else because of their DNA, period. So the fact that people can stand up in the United States in 2025 and say something like that, and by the way, not even make the case, just invoke the power of God as a weapon. He will kill you. He'll pull the plug on your country unless you go along with this. We need more war. Listen to yourself. And it's not just Lindsey Graham. It's the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. It's a lot of people, some of whom are very nice people. People have dinner with them. They seem perfectly normal. But this is a heresy, and it's deranged. And you know it's deranged because it is a justification for killing the innocent. And in Christianity, if there's one thing that's crystal clear, it's that Christians cannot abide the killing of the innocent. People who have done nothing wrong cannot be killed. That's a sin. You are not allowed to do that, period. And if you find anyone leveraging the message of Jesus to justify the killing of innocents, that person is committing heresy.
I appreciate this because, and again, I'm not a fan of Tucker, but him speaking truth to his people and speaking out for his religion. And again, as somebody who is a secular, non-practicing Jewish person, I feel like that's what I'm doing as a Jewish person, is speaking out and saying that what the Zios are doing and what Israel is doing is not Judaism. It is actually a violation of the Torah. Violation. It's not, people that follow the 613 commandments, the mitzvot, they don't do this. It's a violation. And the people need to understand that that's not Judaism. Unfortunately, there are a lot of Jewish people, I would say secular, that they are this, but that's the point. They're not practicing Jews.
Jen, much like the Schofield Bible, which created Zionism and created this unholy alliance between Jewish Zionists and Christian Zionists, can you also explain to the audience the difference between the Torah and the Talmud?
Yeah, and you know what, guys? We need to, did we reach out to Rabbi Rosen? No, did we reach out to Brant Rosen, Rabbi
I
Brant?
tried to reach out to him. I wanted him to come on Monday. I haven't heard back.
Okay. Well, I want to have someone on to really explain this better, but the Torah is the first 5 books of Moses. So it's the Old Testament. That's the Torah. The Torah is the 5 books of Moses. And that is if you go to a synagogue, let's say, any synagogue, basically, although let's say you go Reform, so they're speaking English and you can understand them. And you go to synagogue, and any day of the year, they're reading the story of that portion of the Torah that they follow it very similar to like the New Testament. So like when you go to church on Easter, you're getting the Easter story. The Torah is the Old Testament. That's what that's what they're following. The Talmud is writings and from different scholars and different people. And it's not the Bible. It's interpretations and excerpts and stuff that does that, but it's not the word of God. Air quotes. Air quotes.
We use it as we can, I suppose.
Yes, Torah is Judaism. That is correct. People that follow the Torah, that read yes, correct. And I agree with Tucker. You don't get to call yourself Christian if you stand for things that are a complete violation of that, right? Then you're not really that. You're just using that to shield yourself from criticism. You're not really that, I mean, and I always say as a disclaimer, like I was raised in a Jewish community. My family is all Jewish. All of my great-grandparents are Jewish. Like that's the stories I grew up with, but I have always been an atheist. I am a non-practicing person. But you don't get to claim that you're something, but not do it. Like yeah. It doesn't make sense. Although I was recently talking about my mom with something like this because, I think it bothers her to think that her friends are Zionists. And her thought is, well, they're not Zionists. They just, they just think that, and some sort of 2-state thing or whatever. I'm like, then they're Zionists. If you believe that there should be a Jewish Zio state, you are a Zionist. If you believe that Jews are entitled to an ethno-state, you are a Zionist. Just like if you take Christ as your savior, you're a Christian, right? Like there's just certain things.
Yeah, things that are versus what they are perceived to not be. I mean, we're only trying to do right by humanity. And if that makes us God-like or Christ-like in the eyes or even, Allah-like in the eyes of most people, great. It doesn't mean that
that's Christian. That's
correct.
Christian.
And what you'll also find is that just following the teachings of Jesus, particularly the ultimate law of the land when it comes to following Christ, which is do unto others as you would have done to you, that's a very easy law to live by. It's actually not that hard. You just have to have a conscience. You can't look at the image of that Palestinian child with Miss Rachel and think that that's acceptable. Now, we're 2 years. We are hours away from this being 2 years that this has been going on. Now, granted, it didn't start 2 years ago. It's just become a global phenomenon of the worst kind over the last 2 years. And the fact that Tucker Carlson, whether you like him or not, I've seen some of you in the chat, he is the most impactful voice in all of independent media right now. And he's going to the teeth of where the flock actually exists.
Yeah.
We're not going to get to the rich Jewish Zionists. They're psychotic and they rule the world and they're going to do what they're going to do. But you know who you can get to? You could get to the mom and pop shop owner in Oklahoma that's a Christian Zionist that is not hearing the full story. But they listen to Tucker Carlson,
exactly,
who at one time or another has the most popular podcast in the United States. He at times is more popular than Joe Rogan. So when they're hearing this, trust me, they're going to say, yeah, you know what? Tucker's a real Christian person.
I'm with you, Shunt Guy. Blessed are the cheesemakers. Abso-friggin-lutely.
What's your favorite cheese?
I like everything but blue cheeses, and I just don't like funky smell cheese, but I like pretty much just cheese in general. It's definitely I'm not proud of it. Like, I'd rather not, but I like it. I like, if I could wave a magic wand and there would never be cheese, so it would never be an option and I wouldn't have to be participating in that cycle of dairy, which is not good.
Sure.
But it's there, and I do like cheese.
Fresh mozzarella, and I like sharp cheddar. Wisconsin sharp cheddar. I'd say that those are my two favorite.
I like brie.
Brie's good too, but actually, you know what I do with brie that you might actually appreciate? So what I do is I take one of the bries and you cut it up into pieces. You put it in a ramekin that you could put in the oven, and I mix it with honey and with chopped almonds. You roast that for about 15, 20 minutes, get it nice and brown and gooey and all that stuff. And let me tell you something, Jen. That is a dip to end all dips. Or you can
I have quite a few brie things that I make myself. I will tell you. I'm a fan of brie. So
a sweet and savory end to the segment, and a sweet and savory end to the conversation with Jen.
All right.
If you want to stick around for, do you want to stick for the super chats, or you want to go?
No, I could stay for super chats. I'm good until I get kicked out of here.
Patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. As it stands right now, just so you guys know, we are at 70,354 subscribers. Again, we are extremely grateful for this unbelievable growth spurt that we are on right now. And we have each and every one of you to thank. Double K showed up in the super chat tonight, Jen.
I saw when I was watching, and I was so, I know she made such a nice donation. It was so nice to see her. And I felt bad that I wasn't in there, like in here, to say thank you, Double K.
Much appreciated to Piano Man, as always, for the $10 super sticker.
And Piano Man is one of our new patrons.
Super duper. Alex got mittens. And we've been seeing you a lot, brother. We appreciate you being here with the $5. Thank you for your videos. May God bless you. We appreciate it.
What's the cross from? God, I'm having thought. Is it?
That's an Iron Cross. I think that's a Valor Cross, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. No, I remember. God, I can't even remember.
There was a guy at the gym today when I was working out that had a big one tattooed on his arm.
But is it? It's Celtic. Is it what's it? Is it Roman? I just can't remember what it is. Anyway.
That is not sure. Mark J, as always, thank you for the
Bavarian.
Bavarian.
Okay. I've been there.
I have not. Mark J with the $2. First-rate, courageous reporting. Thank you. Thank you for always having our back, brother. We really appreciate it. Noah Linden, always a pleasure. The $2. The Flotillas members need to be packing heat. Well, unfortunately, that won't end well. It's not going to end well anyway. Like I said, right now they're POWs. That's basically what they are. And so, and of course, our State Department, I'm sure, is not doing a fucking thing to help.
Oh, I'm sure they're working round the clock for those guys.
They are working round the clock to get them free. You know, Adam Schiff, this was brought to his attention and he ignored it. Of course he did.
I'm sure he did. No, Noah Linden, but I do agree in the principle of what you're saying. And it needs to be happening around all of these increased security places and cop cities and all of these like commandos that are going into the streets. We need to Black Panther this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to be having, and Florida's open carry now. We're the friggin' Wild West here. I think that you guys want open carry? Let's have open carry. I think that the Black Panthers need to make such a resurgence. And yeah, people need to start walking around armed, apparently, or you could risk getting pulled off the street by a masked, unknown, unidentified person and sent to El Salvador. So, yeah.
JG 1982 with the 5 Revolutionary Change memberships. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you for paying it forward. That's the way it should always be done. Robert Pukere, thank you for the $3 super sticker. Appreciate you checking in, my friend. And Lauk again, 66 with the 10 pounds. There has been a shift in the time, space, or the space time, not time, space.
He says time, space. He says time, space.
Well, Doc Brown says space time continuum. It happened in 1959. The music died. Tucker is AI. The Beatles were a mirage. Zeppelin, Bach, etc. are all fake. Zionism equals truth equals Hollywood. Well,
I don't know what to make of any of that.
Yeah, maybe that's the pod people commentary that we're supposed to follow, I suppose.
I don't know what that is. I mean, thank you for the donation, but I don't fully get it. Yeah, the flux capacitor.
Yes. I actually just saw the trilogy again. It's such a great, you want to talk about just like a fun escapism. That was the thing about being a child of the 80s and of the 90s. There were movies like, and it honestly all really started with Star Wars in 77 when Jen was a little tyke and I wasn't even alive.
Saw it in the theater. I have seen every single one in the theater, first run, and since in the past 30 years, night before opening day.
Oh, yeah. You mean like that sneak preview night, like when it's supposed to come out on Friday and then Thursday, that little sneak preview?
Yeah. Well, that's because, you know, my family, the boys take their Star Wars seriously.
Yes, they do. But ever since Star Wars, there has been basically for like what I would consider to be about a 2-decade run where going to the movie theater was an escapism opportunity. And that's what it was supposed to be. And then movies just got shitty. Really fucking shitty. I don't even go anymore. I mean, I did go, to his credit, you can say what you want about him as a person, but Tom Cruise is maybe the last true movie superstar that we have that actually wants to entertain. And the last Mission Impossible movie, while not great, usually they say it's the beginning and the end and the middle that's always the roughest part. The beginning and the end are always great. In this case, the middle was the best part of the last Mission Impossible movie. But that's the type of stuff that I enjoy. And that's why a movie like Back to the Future is so important to our cultural consciousness. Not just because Jen and I grew up in that era, but because even
I love how you put us as growing up in the same era. I would, you know, I was too old to even be your babysitter.
Yeah, but no, you were not. You've got 12 years. Of course, you're old enough to have been my babysitter.
No, by the time you would have been left with a babysitter, I wouldn't have been interested in babysitting. That's my point.
To each their own. Sep with the $9.99. Thank you very much. Free Greta, Palestine. More Jews need to bring to light who wrote Talmud. Props and thank you, and hope you interview Fuentes. Back to the Future, America First.
Hey, well, you know what? Peter would probably be happy to interview Nick Fuentes.
I would talk to Nick.
Does he do interviews or not in person?
Yeah, of course he does. Yeah, he does interviews with people like Patrick Bett, star of David.
Oh, right. So he wouldn't come on with us then, or
Probably
with Peter.
not.
I have no interest in talking to him.
We're small potatoes compared to him. Doesn't mean I wouldn't speak to him, and doesn't mean I wouldn't tussle with him, because I would.
Donna Vorse, one of my favorites. James
Yeah.
Baldwin, absolutely. Someone who knew to move the hell out of this country and saw the writing on the wall a long time ago.
Well, if you haven't seen the interview that, or the debate, if you will, between James Baldwin and Mr. Fake Brit himself, that's the funny thing.
What is it, Buckley?
About William F. Buckley is that he actually was born in the States, but he moved to the UK and then became an intellectual of the highest order. Tamils for Peace, thank you for the 199 Canadian aid. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Well, if you can still hang around, this very unique story has come about because we all know, Jen, how you feel about the worst Zionazis in the United States, with Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL being one of the truly worst scumbags in all of politics, and has used the America First movement to his advantage, which should come as no surprise. That's what the ADL does. They will use anything that they feel will be to their advantage. But now it turns out that they have apparently stepped in it. And now the FBI cuts ties with the ADL amid conservative backlash.
So in other words, you're too filthy for the FBI?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine? Like, that's just insane, right? Like, you're too corrupt for the corruptest organization. Like, yeah.
Most corrupt.
I mean, it's insane.
FBI Director Kash Patel announces break with anti-Semitism watchdog amid outrage over description of Charlie Kirk. The top law enforcement agency in the U.S. has cut ties with the ADL, accusing the Jewish advocacy organization and anti-Semitism watchdog of spying on conservatives.
However, they don't mind if they spy on other people.
Sure.
You can spy on other people, but not on conservatives.
But don't spy on the spy. Don't spy on the spiers. Does that work?
Basically, it's like you went against your own.
Yeah, you can't do that. Not allowed.
No.
FBI Director Kash Patel made the announcement on Wednesday after prominent conservative influencers, including Elon Musk, pounced on the ADL's inclusion of the murdered right-wing activist Charlie Kirk in its glossary of extremism and hate. Probably went about doing that a little too soon, wouldn't you say, Jen? Think they might have rushed that one. It was
I mean, look, I find it. It's all falling apart. It's like there's so many unbelievable, like, I guess what you would say, coalitions in so many different directions that the enemies are the enemies are the enemies. Like, it's all imploding on itself now. They can't keep they've made everybody enemies, so they're enemies of their enemies. So there's no order to it. It's just completely imploding.
Now it gets even more interesting because apparently, according to the FBI, former Director Comey had written love letters to the ADL and embedded agents within the group, which he accused of running disgraceful ops spying on Americans. Oh, now you care about Americans being spied on. Yeah, we knew that was going on. But now you messed with Jen. How long before Charlie Kirk is made a saint?
I thought he already was.
With the way they're treating him, yes, he's clearly the same.
I mean, I have so many thoughts about all of that, but yeah.
In a 2014 speech to the ADL's National Leadership Summit, Comey said the FBI had made the advocacy group's law enforcement and society training mandatory for personnel and partnered with it to draft a hate crimes training manual. Comey called the ADL's experience in investigating hate crimes essential and its training eye-opening and insightful. Of course he did. While Patel did not mention Kirk in his statement, his announcement came just a day after the ADL removed more than 1,000 entries about alleged extremism from its website amid right-wing outrage over references to the late activist. The ADL said it made the decision as many of the terms were outdated and a number of entries had intentionally been misrepresented and misused. Now, what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that they stepped in it big time, and what they thought was going to be a tremendous cash cow for their operation is now being severed. And what's one to do when they don't have all of that nonprofit money being facilitated to their organization? It is proof positive that the Israel lobby, of which the ADL is directly connected, is losing their stroke, even amongst people that one would perceive to be extreme in political discourse. You want to shit on Charlie Kirk? Understand the consequences that will come. He's one of the bad ones. There's no question about it. In a since-deleted entry on Kirk and his youth organization, Turning Point USA, the ADL said Kirk promoted Christian nationalism, true, and numerous conspiracy theories about election fraud. Election fraud is not a conspiracy theory. And COVID-19, again, COVID-19 is not a conspiracy theory, and has demonized the transgender community. That's probably true. The entry also said TPUSA attracted racists, that representatives had made bigoted remarks about minorities and the LGBTQ community, and the white nationalists had attended its events, even though the group says it rejects white supremacist ideology. Kirk himself strongly criticized the ADL while he was alive, once describing it as a hate group that dones of a religious mask to justify stoking hatred of the left's enemies.
It's true. That's some truth right there. The ADL may have at some point started out against, it wasn't supposed to just be anti-Semitism, it's defamation. So it was hate to begin with, you know, but then it for decades, I mean, basically my whole life, it's just been a shill for Israel.
Imagine doing this. Imagine doing this 2 weeks after he's killed. They suck, pure and simple. And just remember, the ADL is the organization that people like Bill Ackman were using on the chessboard to go after students protesting against Free Palestine. The ADL says that all of these students are anti-Semitic, but really just anti-Jew, because again, anti-Semitic is a oxymoron. If you actually know the meaning of what a Semitic person really is, it's not the people that are being referenced here. They're the furthest thing from Semitic. Point being, everything was a means to an end. And eventually they stepped in shit that they can't get themselves out of. And now that you have the America First movement telling you to go fuck yourself, now you really are in a lot of trouble. They most certainly did. 1000%.
You know what? Bye-bye. Like, don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you. That's how I feel about the ADL. Bye-bye.
In a statement responding to Patel's remarks on Wednesday, the ADL said it had deep respect for the FBI and all, of course you do, and all law enforcement officers who work to protect Americans regardless of their ancestry, religion, ethnicity, faith, and political affiliation. In light of an unprecedented surge of anti-Semitism, we remain more committed than ever to our core purpose to protect the Jewish people. That's actually not what the ADL is supposed to be.
No, it's supposed to be anti-defamation.
Correct. But we all know it's evolved into this shitbag Zionazi organization led by a bald-headed jabroni who you cannot tell the difference between him and Stephen Miller if you stood them side by side.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Are they ever in the same place at the same time?
I can't verify that that's ever been the case.
So listen, I have to go. I'm about to lose my room, and that's fine. But before I go, I want everyone to know about our big show next Thursday. Because guys, we're having a 5-year anniversary. It's our 5-year anniversary. And next Thursday, we're having an extravaganza. We have 4 different 30-minute panels of people that have helped us along the way. Some people you know, some people you don't know. And we will be making a very big announcement in the last half hour of that show. So that's something that you might want to be for. And also in that last half hour, I have some big name people. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Even people that I don't know about yet?
No. not really. But you never know, because there's still some people that I haven't heard from that, could make an appearance. You never know. But we have a nice entourage of people. And you all know one of them is Anthony Aguilar. And yeah, we have a bunch of stuff. So right now I've got 8 confirmed people that will be joining us Thursday night for our 5-year anniversary.
I'm excited.
No, not Clooney.
I share my birthday with George Clooney. I may not be as dapper and wealthy, but I might compete with him on the looks department every once in a while, depending on having my good days.
Yeah, if he looked like Steve Buscemi. I'm just saying, no. Guys, so don't miss the 5-year anniversary next Thursday night. And I think I will be here Monday. I'm hoping to be here Monday, but we'll see how that goes.
Good luck with that. Hope
Yeah.
it works
All right.
out.
Bye, all.
Got one more segment that we're going to do before we head out for the evening. And I think this, in many ways, just kind of piggybacks on what we're dealing with right now and understanding why, with such weakness on the left in terms of political discourse, even just populism in general, I have been explaining why somebody like Nick Fuentes is given so much air to breathe and why his platform has grown as large as it has. And would I speak with him if the opportunity presented itself? Yes, I would. And if you listen to his rhetoric as of late, a lot of it is highly questionable. And of course, I suspect that he's been given a talking to. But here's the thing. When we think about the billionaire takeover of our country, the Zionist billionaire takeover of our country, there is no question that it is something that has to unite everybody. And this is what Nick had to say regarding the second richest person in the world, Larry Ellison, Mr. Zio, funder of the IDF, billionaire scumbag who probably is gleeful as can all be right now in lieu of all of the flotilla members being hostages and being tortured. This is what he had to say about Larry Ellison.
Is directly intervening to force China to sell their U.S. TikTok business to an American consortium. And Trump is giving that business to Larry Ellison.
Now, one thing right off the bat, I want to make very clear that people understand. The value of TikTok is about $40 billion on an open market. Larry Ellison was able to secure the rights to TikTok for $14 billion, just over 30% of the true value of the organization, of the company. And why is that? Why would he be able to do that? Because at that level, you could do whatever the fuck you want. That's the way it works. A $26 billion savings for Larry Ellison. You know, he can hang on to it for a year, flip it around, sell it, and double them. Do you think for 1 second that Larry Ellison, a few years from now, couldn't just turn around and sell TikTok for $28 billion if it just maintains where it's at right now, valuation-wise? Of course it could. And that's the problem.
A newly created entity is taking a 45% stake in TikTok's U.S. business, and Larry Ellison is taking a major role in that. He's going to own a significant stake in that company, and he's going to take a major role in securing TikTok. So consider, Israel's got this problem. Netanyahu is a close friend of Ellison. Ellison is a problem solver for Netanyahu. Ellison is one of these American Jewish oligarchs that works for Netanyahu, like many others. Netanyahu has a problem in Israel. He picks up the phone and he calls the loyal American Jewish billionaire Larry Ellison. And by the way, why is this dynamic so important? America's the biggest and most powerful country in the world. You can't amass a $300 billion fortune in Israel because Israel's economy is negligible, because their population is negligible. Israel doesn't have institutions like we have. They don't have companies, universities. They don't have a market like we have. They don't have capital like we have. So an American Jew is empowered in America, becoming one of the most powerful individuals on the planet, which you could not do in Israel, and then serves at the pleasure of Israel's government. You see? And he has power not just in the world, but also in America. His citizenship is extremely valuable. His ability to build an American company is what made him so rich.
And he's right. And this is the danger of having a billionaire class, not just that they're Zionists, but just billionaires in general, multi-billionaires in general. They have the ability to actually control the economy. They have the ability to actually control political discourse. We want to have an outlet to express ourselves regarding Israel's genocide. TikTok, as much as any outlet that exists, is one that we have used very successfully to get the message out there about the Palestinian people. So what does our Zionist government and Trump the cuck do? They get the rights from China, and we know they're going to compensate them in other ways. But they get them to give up their rights on TikTok, give it to a Zionist billionaire like Larry Ellison, who works directly with Milikowski. That's Netanyahu, for those who don't know his real name. It couldn't be more obvious what is going on here. And it's being allowed. And it's not just being allowed. It's being done for pennies on the dollar. A $40 billion company is being acquired for $14 billion. That's a crime within itself. And of course, it's being done on behalf of the Zio-Nazi state, which should not be tolerated by anybody.
And he uses his citizenship, his ability to interface in the political process in America, his ability to tap into the American market and capital markets and other things to create this fortune to then serve Israel. Israel has this problem. Netanyahu picks up the phone. Ellison answers. Ellison uses his connections through the Republican Party in American government to gain control over TikTok. And that's how Israel acquires a Chinese social platform that is all powerful in America. And what else do they do? Larry Ellison underwrites his son, David Ellison, his acquisition of Paramount Pictures, as well as potentially Warner Brothers. And now they will own all the media together. They will own TikTok. They will own CBS, TBS, HBO, HBO Max, Showtime, Nickelodeon, UFC streaming. They're going to own all this stuff.
And that is a great point because, again, how does somebody like Barry Weiss with a rag like the Free Press get into the position that she's in and now get an incredible payday? Because this is what happens at the very top. They are still trying to control the narrative, and it ain't working. Eventually, it's all going to spill over. That's what's going to happen. We'll finish it out.
And they're going to use their ownership of all of it to help Israel. They already are. David Ellison is going to buy out Bari Weiss and her publication, The Free Press, going to give her a $100 million payday, and just made her an executive at CBS. She is an Israeli spy. She was trained up by Yoram Hazony. She did internships in Israel with the Israeli military and Israeli government officials. She was mentored by Jews like Bret Stephens in America, Yoram Hazony in Israel. She is an Israeli spy.
I agree. She is an Israeli spy. We have to start calling them agents or, Israel adjacent. They're spies. And Barry Weiss is a spy. And as Piano Man said, as Jen would say, it's an infestation. And remember, when things start to get worse, where do you think that the Zion-Nazis are going to come? They're going to go to Cyprus, they're going to go to Argentina, and they are going to come here. So just be ready. And that's why somebody like Fuentes has the platform that he has, because so few people are willing to speak on this the way it needs to be spoken on. This needs to be a central focus at all times, Jeffrey Epstein was a spy. My, how the tables have turned.
And she's going to run CBS. And she got a $100 million payday. They're using their fortune as secular Jews. Bari Weiss is a lesbian. She's got a wife. Larry Ellison's an atheist. They're using their fortune to help Israel for no reason other than they're Jews. Israel's a Jewish state. They're Jews. This is what they're doing.
I don't remember exactly how the saying goes, but I think I'm gonna botch it, but I want to make sure I say it right. Basically, Jews don't believe in God except that God promised them Israel. That's kind of what the joke is, I think. But we have to be cognizant. And Piano Man, I also want to point out, I agree. I do believe that Kash Patel has also been honeypotted. If you look into his girlfriend, there's a lot of smoke there. I have not even had the opportunity, because there were so many stories to cover this evening, for us to get to Andrew Colvett, who I do believe is one of the most suspicious characters in the whole Charlie Kirk saga. And that I think, as Jen has alluded to, he is most likely the LBJ figure in this entire situation. So, where do we go from here? As we pointed out a little earlier this evening, we have been threatened in a very profound way by the Zion-Nazis. They want to come for us. They're going to do it. But we're not going to stop talking about it. If we do, then they win. And we can't let them win. They also know that they're losing. So the threats will become that much more volatile, dangerous. Yeah. You don't send the county sheriff's office after somebody like me unless you try to send a message. That's what you do. But that's not going to stop. We'll keep going, and now we'll be even more bold. For the final time this evening, I believe we have a couple of more super chats to cover. Alex got mittens. Thank you for the $10. German traditionalist Catholic, kind of like Mel Gibson, said Sedivacanists, I guess that's how you say it. In any case, thank you for this video. I have been watching it since it started. Appreciate you being here, brother. Appreciate your support of the channel. It really means a lot. And with that said, Monday is the 2-year anniversary of this genocide. I don't even know how we're here, how this is still going on. Thank you so much, JG. Really appreciate it. Your support is tremendously appreciated. And at times, I wonder if I'll ever be put in a position where I feel fear that I should stop. But then I remember, I see that video clip of Miss Rachel and that innocent child. And I remember that the fight has just begun. There is a hell of a lot more to go. So for anybody who is wondering whether or not it's worth it, whether or not we have to continue fighting, regardless of the roadblocks that will be thrown in our direction, the answer is yes, we must continue. Because those innocent children like that young girl are counting on us. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We'll see you Monday, and free Palestine. Good night, guys.